In the 1980s, new kinds of RPGs were invented because contemporary computers simply couldn't handle the scope and complexity of the tabletop form. Modern computers still can't recreate the essential element of the human imagination, but as technical limitations have begun to lift, digital RPG designers have been able to reincorporate some of the grander tabletop design ideas that earlier games had dropped. In this video, we're going to look at how two games went back to the dawn of the RPG to recapture some very old design ideas in new and compelling ways. The role-playing game was born out of the earlier tabletop genre called the war game. These days, the tabletop war game most people have played is Risk. And while Risk is a relatively simple example of the very complicated genre it comes from, it does have all the key features. Players move game pieces representing military units across a map, and the power of these units is determined by a set of fixed statistics plus the application of chance in the form of rolling dice. The first step towards RPGs was taken when Gary Gygax, one of the eventual creators of Dungeons & Dragons, created hero units with scaling power levels in his game Chainmail. Gygax's implementation of character levels was very rudimentary at that point, but it was still an extremely exciting idea that evolved rapidly. Several modern games borrow from this early moment in the evolution of RPGs by putting contemporary level-up systems back into military strategy games. One popular game to do this is 1999's Heroes of Might and Magic 3. In this game, the player commands hero units that level up, sending them out from a home base to conquer territory, recruit allies, and acquire resources and magical upgrades. The player's hero unit can level up and gain new abilities, and also equip new items to gain additional powers. The units that the hero commands do not level up. Instead, those units are delivered through a fairly standard strategy game interface. As the player acquires resources, he or she builds new structures within a castle town that allow for the purchase of new forces. The place where Heroes 3 really shines is in the way that hero abilities interact with the different units on the battlefield. Experienced players can use a hero's spells and passive skills to great effect by strengthening or weakening key stats of any given unit. For example, strengthening the defense of an already hardy unit can make it extremely resistant to damage from enemy troop stacks, even if those troops number in the hundreds. Alternatively, a clever player can use his or her hero to slow down the opposing army's best units, effectively removing them from battle until that unit's supporting army is gone. There's also a wide variety of direct attack spells that can whittle away enemy troop strength. No single hero can do all of those things, but the player can match a variety of heroes and armies, and so choosing the right hero and leveling it up conscientiously is a vital task. The other example of this trend I want to look at is certainly more famous. Warcraft 3: Reign of Chaos introduced leveling hero units to the real-time strategy genre. Although the introduction of real-time play had changed strategy games in profound ways, the relationship between heroic and normal units in Warcraft 3 is similar to both its early RPG ancestors and to Heroes of Might and Magic. Hero units have offensive, defensive, and passive skills, which synergize with certain troop compositions. Many of these skills exploit the game's real-time mechanics by augmenting unit mobility. Some address the other part of the real-time strategy's tactical balance by reviving or refurbishing friendly units, thus avoiding critical replacement costs. The majority of these abilities, though, are meant for dealing direct damage, but here too the real-time environment is very important. Each attack has a differently shaped impact area, meaning that the player has to draw enemy units into a certain formation and then strike with high precision in both space and time. Attacking a moment late can mean the difference between huge damage and a negligible effect. Warcraft 3 and Heroes 3 have more in common than just hero units that level up. In both games, the level-up system places tactical constraints on those heroes. Heroes can only possess a limited number of abilities, and while that number grows as the hero gains levels, it's the player's job to select the abilities that best suit their current tactical situation. In other words, these games create a situation in which the player can level up well or level up poorly. This is a strategic element that modern games have often ironed out. Those games often have good reasons for doing so, and many of them are still great games. But it's nice to see that the original spirit of the tabletop RPG has been preserved in classics like Heroes and Warcraft. The tabletop strategy roots of the RPG still have a lot to offer modern games. Although the original design of the RPG came from the wargame niche, other subgenres, like grand strategy, have tons of ideas just waiting for modern RPG designers to harvest.